Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Monkey Business. We're back. We're here with no Barbies, just a bunch of Kens. Carter, how's it going?
Monkeys are back in business.
Will?
Good to be here, man.
All right, let's dive right into it.
So today we are discussing the cultural phenomenon of Barbenheimer, Greta Gerwig's newest film, Barbie, as well as Christopher Nolan's newest film, Oppenheimer.
Not Christopher Robin.
No, that might have been a better movie. Anyway, spoilers for what I think of them. Uh, this really took, I don't know if it was just America, but kind of the cinema world in general by storm. And out of something that they didn't really promote themselves. This was something, in my opinion, almost formed by the public that just created hype in and of itself, and everybody went along with it. Both of these movies, respectfully, still have multiple showings a day. I believe Barbie is still getting IMAX showings as well, at least once a day over at Westview, and they've done really well to almost not really revitalize cinema and the movie going experience, but I don't know the last time a bunch of people got dressed up to go to films. It's specifically for Barbie, right? If you saw someone going to a mall wearing pink, you knew that they were going to go see Barbie. There was just no doubt in your minds. And it was really cool to kind of see that camaraderie with everybody without a huge amount of corporate forcing in and on the matter as well. And most people that I know did see both movies to kind of fulfill the cultural dream. Thoughts?
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy cultural phenomenon. Just to see
Yeah,
everything
take a
happening at
shot
once.
every time we say cultural phenomenon this episode, guys.
We
I'm
do not
down.
endorse this
Might
behavior.
be.
Carter meant it as a joke.
Let's go.
All right, on that note, we are going to switch things up a little bit. Maybe in honor of the special occasion. Maybe we'll do it in the future. We'll see. We're going to do our ratings at the beginning. So let's start with Will.
All right. So how about this? We'll start with Barbie and then we'll do Oppenheimer second, right? Because it is
Okay, you want a
Barbenheimer.
snake? Let's snake.
All right. So first up for me is going to be my rating on Barbie. And currently, Carter, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe my only 10 of the year is Polite Society.
Well, I wonder what this will be.
Yes.
Well, Polite Society has company, man. Barbie is a 10 out of 10 film.
10 out of 10,
This
baby.
movie I have recommended to everyone. I do not shut up about this film if people ask me what is good in theaters. I have This movie is amazing. It is so good. It's not again, it's just remarkable. Absolute 10 out of 10 viewing experience, theater experience as well, and just there's been so much camaraderie in the friend group around it. This is gonna stick in my mind for forever. Of everybody getting up in pink to just go see the Barbie movie. Just a blast. Just an
Unintended.
absolute fun time, man. Yeah, 10 out of 10. One of my favorite 10 out of 10s, I think. And probably the one with the highest rewatchability for me as well.
Well, I thought Barbie was quite good and I enjoyed it, but it didn't really stick with me and I didn't really have any desire to see it a second time. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
An 8. All
An
right.
8 for not desiring to
Dang.
rewatch it. Wow.
That's awesome. I'm happy.
We take
Wow.
those.
I easily. That's incredible.
All right, Carter,
Uh,
join me, brother. Join me, brother.
10 out of 10 for the Barbie movie, baby. Absolutely undefeated. Greta Gerwig remains. Uh, no doubt in my mind. Second I left the theater. And the second time I left the theater, and the third time I left the theater. Masterpiece, through and through.
I'd say for me, the second time was where it was a 10 out of 10. The first time, it kind of, some things just didn't fall right, but the second time, I really kind of knew what I was going into, and it was so good. So good.
Never in
Glad to hear
doubt.
it, man.
Never in doubt. 10 out of 10 for the Barbie movie.
All right, Carter, what do you got for Oppenheimer?
Snake in it? Okay. This one was a lot more complicated, and with this one, I like I really want to talk about it, and I'm still kind of unsure. I've seen Oppenheimer twice. first time I liked it. I wasn't totally sure of everything though, but I still really liked it. I don't think everything totally meshed together, but there was plenty of moments that really impacted me. Second time I watched it, it won me over a lot more. I think, and I'll talk about this, I think the last hour of it, it's long. It's a long movie, man. But I think the last hour of it is some of Nolan's best work, and honestly, it might
Really,
be Nolan's best work. And I- it, I'm still pondering over it in my mind, but Oppenheimer might be a 10 out of 10 for me also.
okay.
So I'm gonna set it at a 10 right now.
And with an asterisk. All right. Well, I should preface my rating by saying Christopher Nolan is probably at this point my favorite director. And I thought this movie, the acting was incredible. Some of the character work was really good. I love the political drama of it. That was fantastic. The costumes were great. I really loved, we'll probably talk about this later, but I loved how the use of black and white versus color for objectivity versus subjectivity and the switching of the point of view. Yet, despite all that, again, this may seem like a common theme, but the movie just didn't really stick with me, and I had no interest in seeing it a second time. So 7.5 out of 10.
All right, boys.
Dang.
Uh, I'm sorry. So, there is some good stuff in my opinion about Oppenheimer, but there is no reason I have, after watching the movie once, and loving Christopher Nolan as a director, and just he's got some of my favorite and most rewatched movies of all time. I think like the top three movies I've ever seen are Fargo, Dark Knight, and Interstellar. All of which I've probably seen over 5 times each. And
Most,
yeah,
this is your most rewatched, you mean?
most rewatched director. Yeah,
No, those are your three most rewatched movies,
yeah, three most rewatched
not your
movies of
three
all
favorite
times.
movies of all time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
behind those are probably
Clarifying.
like Memento and Prestige, which I was both just watching the other day while doing work.
Well, Fargo is not a
Um,
Christopher Nolan movie, so I'm just trying to
no,
clarify to the
oh
audience.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Oh,
three
you had me
movies that Will has
confused.
watched most in his life are
yeah,
Fargo, The Dark Knight, and Interstellar.
yeah.
And Will's
Two of
top
them:
three favorite Christopher Nolan movies are
Dunkirk, Memento, and The Prestige.
okay. That's
Which
what he's
is,
trying to get
I
at.
know it's kind of weird, but this movie, I give this film a 4 out of 10.
Okay. Well, we've got quite the
Yeah.
variety.
This is so interesting, honestly. This is crazy because like I mean both of you guys came on and said that Nolan is one of your favorite directors, that you love him and constantly watch his movie.
Yeah.
And I I could not feel more I don't want to say that, but I definitely don't agree with that statement in the least. I'm not a huge Nolan fan. I I don't get behind him on most of his movies. I'll talk about the ones I like and the ones I don't. We'll get into it. But I and like going into this year, I think earlier in the year we on our end of the year thing, like you guys both put Oppenheimer like super anticipated, and I said
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it, but I don't think it was even top five most anticipated for me this year. I don't have anything against Nolan really, especially now, but this an absolute reversal that I'm going to be defending this one, and you guys are going to be Warren's in between, but this is going to be quite the discussion.
Why do you think these movies meshed so well and such as, well, I'm not gonna say the term, Carter, but in this big event
He's
with
trying to
many
save our
people?
audience.
Because I mean they're just such polar opposites. Like one's digital, one's film, one's like black and white and drab muted colors, whereas one's pink and glitzy and glamour, and one's seemingly on the surface like a kid's movie about a kid's toy, and the other one's about the guy who made the atomic bomb. Why do you think these movies work together so well?
Well, I think the contrast is exactly that. And I'll give some backstory in a second, but I think if both of the movies were um took the tone of Oppenheimer, then people wouldn't be rushing out to see both. And if both the movies took the tone of Barbie, I don't think people would be rushing out to see both same day, that is, in the way that most people, no, I don't want to say most, in the way that it was kind of a joke and encouraged to do so, and take a whole Friday or Saturday or Sunday and see, 5 hours out of your day and at the movies. The contrast is funny, and it's two huge big name directors nowadays that could not be more different um making passion projects, and it's cool to see.
It was, as Steve Martin would call it, an internet meme.
The thing is, though, is I think only one of these films could stand alone by itself and still create as much hype for itself. And it's just Barbie. I
I
don't think
I think
Oppenheimer
Oppenheimer would be
I
more so.
disagree. I think Oppenheimer would be more so just
Yeah.
because just by name.
really.
Yeah.
I just don't see everybody generating a lot of, talking online and stuff like that, or getting dressed up, or just, I don't know, making an event of it.
I know, but it's not really about the event. I think that even if Barbie didn't even exist, that Oppenheimer still would have made its, $700 million. Because I think that there are like I've told you this before, there's like three, four directors that can sell a movie just because they are who they are. And Nolan is not only on that list, he is number one on that list.
More than James Cameron?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, more than James Cameron.
If for no other reason than the fact that he makes more movies.
Okay.
And he makes good movies.
And if James Cameron made Oppenheimer, I don't think it would be as successful.
Yeah, it'd be a
James
lot.
Cameron makes Avatar movies, that's why they're as successful. But James Cameron is on the list, yes.
Mhm.
Well, he made Titanic. It's not just Avatar movies, but
Yeah, but
yeah,
Titanic
you
was the
definitely have a point.
90s. It's a bit different. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he just makes Avatar movies,
I mean, it
but
sounded like you said
at this stage in his career, he just makes Avatar movies.
I mean,
So
he's been paid $1 billion to make some Avatar movies. He better be making some Avatar movies.
if it's more on pace of the second Avatar movie than the first one, then by all means keep doing it, James Cameron.
remember Avatar, guys? Hi, Daniel. How are you?
I guess I was expecting more from Nolan as well going into the film, and I was definitely expecting less from Gerwig. But there was
No doubt the
something,
underdog.
no, but there was something about Barbie that made me want to watch it more, that made me want to see it, that I just kind of got drawn in by the character development, by the screenplay overall, by the characters, but by the irony of both parties and all parties, right? It really felt like someone took a passion project seriously, gave it enough money to fund it accurately, and then executed it perfectly.
Wait, you're talking about Oppenheimer?
No, Barbie. Whereas then Oppenheimer kind of felt like, oh, someone made another biography. Oh, way too
Well,
much
Oppenheimer is
nudity.
completely a passion project
Cool.
because
Yeah.
somebody like gave Christopher Nolan a book about Oppenheimer after Tenet or something.
Robert Pattinson
And
did,
then
yes.
yeah, and then he just became obsessed with it.
Yeah, he gave him the book. What was it? American something or other.
American Prometheus, the book this
American
is based on.
Prometheus.
Right,
Which
right.
should have been the title, I think, in a perfect world. The title of this movie is American Prometheus because it's a much better title. But Oppenheimer is a standard biopic title, and it's gonna, get people in.
Yep. You don't have to ask questions about who it's about. You just
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I thought that for me, I think one of the other things about rewatchability was how long the films were. I didn't want to go back at any point, even halfway through. I was thinking, I don't want to come back and see this film. I don't care about this film. I my biggest criticism on the film is that there's a lot of nudity in it. I hated that. I don't care. I think it takes away so much, and I don't think it was necessary at all. And as soon as it was, I was like, as far as at least with the Nolan movies I've seen, that's never been in them as before. They've been darker in tone from time to time, but it was never something I had to worry about seeing. And then with this one, for it to just be in there ruined a lot of the viewing experience. And then I know that it's accurate, but the whole, oh my gosh, they used my bomb as a bomb, I didn't enjoy. And then I'm going to also be honest. I really tried to enjoy the nuke getting set off scene.
Whoa, whoa, wait a second.
The test, right? The test nuke.
Okay, you might want to phrase that a bit differently.
No, I won't. The nuke getting when I say the nuke being set off scene, you know what I'm talking about in Oppenheimer. There is obvious. And so it just didn't work for me, man. I was like, oh, yep, that's really cool looking. Neat.
Well, I completely agree on your first point. And I think even if he just framed it differently or cut a couple scenes and made it PG-13, I think it would have easily crossed $1 billion.
Yeah. Just this scene's in here so that he can say, I am fire, become death, or whatever it is. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then everything else is just to make it awkward during an interview. And I'm like, what is this for?
There are far better ways to show the relationship struggles that he's going through and his personal struggles. But as far as his reactions after the bomb is used, I do think that was really important because that was a central part to his character's growth and struggle and coming to terms with what he's done. And I think that is kind of what the movie hinges on. So it makes sense if you didn't like that part that he didn't like the film.
Yeah, again, I know it's accurate, which is kind of aggravating.
Well, to an extent.
Yeah, kind of accurate, right? That's what I'm saying. It's based on a true story, but it is just like I don't care at all about this. Carter, thoughts?
I think the rewatchability that you've been commenting on is interesting because I felt similarly my first watch about halfway through, same point that you had those feelings. I think approaching a movie solely judging it on how rewatchable it is, and I'm not saying you're solely judging it on this, but I think even judging it like, as a main point, even putting too much weight on how rewatchable a movie is not the correct way to approach anything. And a lot of it is how you feel, like, are you enjoying your experience? And all movies should be enjoyed. Movies are entertainment. It's one of their first and foremost functions. Escapism is different than entertainment. I've said this before, not going to get into this, but entertainment is important. But I went with Ryan a second time, and I wasn't like I don't think if he wouldn't ask me, I don't think I would have gone. But I went a second time, and my thoughts changed. They weren't changed from a 4 to a 10. They were changed from maybe a 7 or an 8 to a 10. But I I firmly do think it's a 10 now. It's a 10 for me because I don't think it's I don't think
So we'll give it a 4.
because I did. I've seen it twice. I rewatched it. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy like pretty much all of it. I think it moves really well. It's very fast paced considering how long it is. I think it's
fast paced is not the word
I
I'd use to
I
describe.
think it's very fast paced and very engaging.
But to your point, I
It's
think
not quite Barbie, but it's
I
not trying to be.
I'd agree that the pacing is good. I just think it's boring, if that makes sense.
Okay.
yeah, I think the pacing's good, but it's not fast paced.
Yeah, and boring is subjective. If you give a movie 100% of your attention, 100%, then to say a movie is boring is a valid opinion, I think, in my opinion. So that's fair.
What? I don't know where that came from. I could watch paint dry with 100% of my attention and call it boring.
So here,
Well, I'm not
let
talking
me
about paint. I'm not talking about film.
let me give a slight rebuttal. Nothing really that crazy, but one of my favorite films of all time. I'm not sure if I want to rewatch it, but I love it, right? And that's The Irishman. And so it's like, no, I don't think rewatchability is the only measure at all. But I have not wanted to go see this. I have recommended this film to no one. Like, people have asked me, should I go see this? I have told all of them no. And then some people and then I have a bunch of colleagues with the Regal Pass and the AMC Pass. We talk movies in the back room all the time.
Backrooms.
No one has said, wow, Oppenheimer was really good.
Wow. Oppenheimer
none
was
of
really
them.
good, guys.
None of them. Well, like, I asked
Our
their opinion on it.
executive producer Carter up the counter on Will's Irishman comments? Do we have a
Uh,
running counter?
yeah, I literally rewatched The Irishman last night. Funny
Okay, but
enough.
to go back to your rewatchability point, I do think, well, I agree that that's not really a super important criterion for judging a movie, but Oppenheimer especially. Oppenheimer has pretty much everything against rewatchability going for it. It's really long.
I
It's a
dis
lot of rewatchable movies. Oppenheimer has just about everything that makes it harder on paper to rewatch.
I think there's so much information chalked into 3 hours, which is part of the reason I think it's paced well. That seeing it a second time and seeing all the politics play out and the dynamics of how the characters feel at certain points and why they feel that, and because it's non-linear and it's done really well. That was something I was worried about, for a biopic. I thought Nolan was just going to do non-linear just to do non-linear, but I think it works when you see how things shift based on how much information you know, how much information the characters know. And that a second watch really opened my eyes to a bunch of different things that were going on.
Speaking of the super long runtime, I'm curious. It sounds like Carter will probably disagree with me on this, but I thought that the whole communist subplot thing was
That's the
super
point of the movie.
unnecessary,
That's the point of the
completely
movie.
tracted from it. And there's a whole like 20-minute subplot that was, no, I'm not talking about the,
Oh, you mean early with the party? Like,
yeah, yeah.
well, that's the setup to it.
Well, not
You, you,
really.
you,
That's what they
you
were trying to build up, and then it wasn't really at all. But
it
between the
is. You need
communist
that
subplot,
to justify the McCarthyism and the hearings and stuff, I think.
I think you could easily have the hearings without trying to
No,
pin him
it
as the
wouldn't
next
be as
McCarthy.
impactful. It'd just be, especially
Okay,
with
but all you have to do is
all
have
the
a
stuff with
character.
Kitty.
All you have to do is have a character say something, have like a 10-second dialogue, and that would explain it
That's
instead of a 20-minute subplot that goes nowhere. But
that's
then
that's done.
on top of that, you also have the whole Gene Tatlock's character, Florence Pugh's character, complete waste of space, does absolute in time, does absolutely nothing, and is another waste of 20 minutes. That's like 40 minutes of runtime that just does absolutely nothing and goes nowhere.
Well, the communist stuff all happens very early. It's because he was talking to his students about forming unions and rallying, going to the rallies that are on campus and stuff. And he's talking about forming a union with the teachers, and they're saying, some of the teachers are for, some are the professors at his school that he teaches at Oppenheimer. Some are for it, some are against it. One in particular and against it that is a main character, and he's like saying, "We're not." I forgot what worker she compares them to, but we're not these people. We don't need this. And he's saying Oppenheimer says stuff that it's principle and it's important to set an example or something like that. And to say that you just need one throwaway line, just that just defeats a good story in my opinion. That's just, if you want to make something as economic as possible, then you won't have a good story because characters won't be fleshed out. And you can argue that it went too long and that it was drawn out. That's
No, I'm
fair, but
I'm
you
all
can't.
for longer movies. That's not the
Yeah,
problem. The problem is that it made the movie worse.
I don't think so. I think it's interesting setup as
If it makes the movie better, go 20 hours.
I understand your point. I just think the first half an hour it's bouncing back from like kind of the present stuff with his hearings in with Jason Clarke in the one room to his time as a student and then his time as a professor when he's just experiencing the world as a younger guy and he's before all the tragedy in his life played out. He's learning about it's science and politics coming together to form who he is as a person. And you need that to kind of carry everything else downhill
Well, I
for the
disagree
rest of the
very
movie.
strongly. Will, how about you?
Fair enough.
Warren, you're spitting, brother. Yeah, no, really dull part of the film. I don't
I
I don't
think you
have I
guys,
don't have anything to say that Warren did said.
I think the fact that this is a Christopher Nolan movie made a lot of people, including you two, and I'm not trying to accuse you guys of anything, but I think that you approached it with the wrong mindset. I think you're like ready for a Dark Knight, ready for an Interstellar, something that's going to be super exciting and full of adventure. And like there were people like coming out of this saying, "Wow, this is like disappointing that it's not like getting the next generation of kids like excited to study quantum physics." It's like this isn't about quantum physics. This is about
That's
a
what
quantum
Ant-Man
physicist.
Quantumania is for.
But It's about a quantum physicist, but it's not about how cool science and bombs are. It's about
I
it's
mean, I
about
went into the
guilt,
movie
and it's
expecting a
about
biopic.
how things spiral out of hand and how our decisions can destroy things. And I
Dude, that's like a
think it's
lot
super
of movies though.
I, yeah, including this one, and I think it's super well handled. I think it's like Nolan kind of like really reaching for the stars here, like especially in terms of his relative to his filmography. I think he's done that the last three films, even though I'm mixed about Tenet. I'm not a huge Tenet fan, but I I respect him so much for continuing to push himself at this stage in his career.
Well, I agree with what you should have expected going into it. I just still hold 100% that there's a lot of stuff that detracts and adds unnecessary runtime in this film.
Fair enough. I think Warren, I think your thoughts are justified. I think Will, you really went into this with the wrong mindset, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm
Way to throw
gonna
Will under the bus.
100% agree with you, brother.
Uh-huh. Because I went in like expecting this to be how an Interstellar, how cool science is. They're going to do a lot of technology and they're going to show a bomb
How?
without CGI. But
How
it
can you
it
expect
really
that going into this film?
because that's what the Nolan fan base raves for. That's
No,
what they want out
but
of
that's not
things.
what
They
the
want
movie is about.
pseudo-intellectualism, and this is just intellectualism, I think.
Listen, if I watch a preview that shows a biopic sphere of cinema depiction or whatever, right? Then that's what I'm going to go into the movie and expect. I expected a biography coming into this about a certain
And
section of this
every time
guy's
you
life.
don't get exactly what you expect from a movie, you don't like it.
No, I don't like this
Okay,
movie for a lot of reasons.
okay. Then focus on your thoughts of why you don't like it. Stop focusing on how your expectations weren't met.
No, I
Start
have.
forming an actual argument, my friend. Stop
Dude,
saying
you gotta listen
it
to me.
wasn't cool. They didn't show cool bombs. Okay, you need to
What did dude?
Wait, so you were expecting biography or you weren't? I'm confused.
Yeah, I
and
went into the film.
isn't that what it was?
Well, not
Yeah, but
exactly.
it sucked.
Okay.
It is too long. There are too many characters that do nothing the entire film.
100%.
There's a ton of pointless arguments. There's shots
Absolutely.
that just do not matter. There's travel time and dialogue. There's lines all over the place. Just the entire black and white, oh, just so you know it's in a different thing, is annoying. Some of the camera shots are just kind of lame. Like the scenery, nothing is really wowed. The whole movie feels like A plus B plus B plus B. It's a very simple outline that is not, in my opinion, very much expanded upon or worth delving into a whole lot. There's aggressive nudity. There is just the habits the characters do for no reason and accents sometimes that suck. And then there's just like, it's just lame, man. It's like, I don't want to sit here through a film that tries to teach me something but does a very poor job of doing it. It's like listening to a lecture from a teacher who just drones on and on for 3 hours. I understand the base concepts of somebody going through guilt. I understand the base concepts of somebody who wants to like cheat or something like that. I understand these base concepts of wanting to serve your country, of trying to fight for something that is against what the company or the group you work for believe in. But I don't think any of these payoffs or any of these like plot lines really come together in any way that makes me care about any of the characters in the film, any of the conclusions. I don't feel bad for his second wife while he's cheating on her. Like I'm like, oh well, they don't really have a connection anyway. What do I care? They're both crap parents, and it's just there isn't enough developed. And I know that some of these characters are on screen for the majority of the time, but there's just nothing about them that makes me attached to them, that makes me feel sad for them, that makes me want to empathize with them in any way. I'm simply reading a screenplay and it's visualized in front of me without any emotion or anything at all. It is just simple and dull, and it overstays its welcome in every way, shape, and form.
On that note, what did you think of Barbie's pacing?
Fantastic, man. 10 out of 10. Goodness gracious. They should have added 40 more songs and 20 more long shots. And just, I don't know, they should have had a part 2, an intermission.
Well,
I would have watched this movie all day.
if I'm going to be consistent, I will have to point out that I did also have issue with Barbie. The entire like Mattel CEO and like the Mattel board, that entire subplot was just so random, thrown in there, made no sense with the rest of the movie. Uh, that was the main thing I had issue with, though, in terms of pacing or unnecessary subplots.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you, Warren. We'll bounce over to Barbie in a second. I have extended thoughts on the nudity. I'm not going to go into them right now. If you really care, I would be happy to share in person. But moving on to Barbie. Yeah, I think the biggest flaw with this movie is that the real world is so Barbie essentially is about a Barbie, stereotypical Barbie, who is having trouble in Barbie Land. She lives in Barbie Land with all the other Barbies and all the other Kens. She's having an identity crisis. She is told by one of the Barbies to go to the real world to find her human counterpart, the human that plays with her, and that will fix the space-time continuum tear that isn't actually a space-time continuum tear. They just kind of roller skate around. So she heads off to the real world. And I think that the real world is the weakest part of the film. I think it's
As in life.
so true, man. I think it's not all. I think there's a lot of good stuff in it, but I think some of it. I like when obviously they first get there and Ken and Barbie kind of split up, and Barbie has her talk with the old lady, and Ken discovers the patriarchy. I think those two scenes are highlights of the film. But yes, once they get to the human characters, this is what I'm trying to say. The human characters in the real world are the weakest part of Barbie. And when it focuses on them too much, it kind of loses steam.
I would agree. Yeah, not just the Mattel board, but also are they Sasha and Gloria? Are those
Yeah,
their
Sasha and
names?
Gloria. Yep.
Yeah, their
The
whole
mother and daughter.
dynamic is never really. It's just like they go to Barbie Land and oh, now they're best friends again. That was not really
Mhm.
explored very much. But
And Sasha and Gloria are decent, but the Mattel board especially are very annoying, honestly, which is they're supposed to be, but it's a little too annoying in my opinion.
yeah, Will Ferrell. Oh, a
Yeah.
lot of Will Ferrell is in a lot of roles that kind of the Nicolas Cage effect.
Except Nicolas Cage is a good actor and Will Ferrell is not.
All right. So I think my highlight of the Barbie film, personally, are the Kens. I think they are a group of idiots with some very amazing lines and a really great take on masculinity inside of America, what it has meant, what it could mean, what it does mean, what it doesn't mean, standards that are put on men as well, but not being the point of the film, very much taking a back role. I thought they were very well written. Ryan Gosling, huge shout out for just the overall character that he portrayed, as well as Simu Liu as the other Ken. I think every line delivered by every single Ken has so much heart and just belief that they are that persona at the particular time. And same to be said for the Barbies as well. 10 out of 10.
Ken's not cool.
You know what my job is? It's beach. Like nothing, just beach. I just stand here. It's like, can you save people? No. I'm just gonna stand here and look pretty. And just the horses are men extenders. There's just, dude, just the way he walks
Man on a
as soon as he gets
horse.
to the world, just, oh, you respect me. And he just walks away after she asks him for the time, and just the whole montage of the guys.
He's got an armful of watches later.
Yep. And he's got just golf clubs in the back. He's got the F-150, or it's like a Raptor or something. It's hilarious. Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House. Like it's brilliant writing. And then for him to also just be walking around with the six-pack abs and the dehydrated physique 24/7 is just that other thing of, oh, the ideal male body, which I thought was really cool to have in there as well. I thought they all bounced off of each other really well. I thought the small rivalries were written in there to be really cool. The beach off was very, very funny.
By the way, fun fact, I think I saw that I think it was Simu Liu did like a backflip or something, and because
She
Greta
can't do that,
Gerwig saw
kid.
Ryan Gosling's reaction to it, she thought it would be fun to make them rivals.
And it works. It's so funny that they're vying for Barbies in different ways and stuff like that. I love they never feel like wasted characters either. Ken going along with Barbie to the real world and being super clingy at the start in just the designed role into becoming super aggressive and controlling, and then at the very end realizing that he can be who he can be on his own as well. Me and it's just perfect. And yeah, I've pre-ordered my I'm Knuff hoodie as a result.
What did you think of the "I'm Just Ken" song?
I think it's okay. I think the cover that they do of what is it, Matchbox 20 or something like that,
Yeah, of
um
course.
with Push is the superior song because of all of the emotions that are along with it, the argument that happens afterward, and just sitting there with you guys, my closest friends, and then also with going later at another time with Daniel Russell, the guitar player, and just looking over at him just made it priceless. Just like
Yeah, I
just
can play guitar at you.
yeah.
And just the 4 hours later, and it just zooms out, and then to the wide shot of them all
Hmm.
on the beach, just playing guitar at
Hmm.
Anyway, here's
their Barbies.
Wonderwall.
And the one guy's playing drums. It's so funny.
Hmm. And then the whole idea of it, the movie was written and directed by someone who really understands how society functions and how relationships function. And just to kind of pick up on some of those not so subtle subtleties was super fun of just, oh, you should, we'll distract them by asking, oh, well, I've never seen The Godfather before. And it's just amazing. Or just, yeah, and he can take those glasses off and tell you that now he can really see your pretty face. It's just priceless.
Yeah, the Kens are awesome. They're so funny. And yeah, one of the highlights of this movie is that like we got 7-year-old representation in a blockbuster film, and it's taken 100% seriously. The Kens just they like their horses, they want to drive truck cars and dress up as cowboys. And then they're angsty, they fight with each other a bit, but in the end they have a big dance, and then they hold hands and they're happy again. And it's just comedy gold, man. It's just funny to see these a bunch of incredible actors just to absolutely do something that could be like totally humiliating themselves, but laying it all out there and knocking it out of the park with this. And it's just like to behold.
You got John Cena and Dua Lipa in there.
Yep.
I
The
didn't think they needed
mermaids.
to be, but all right.
Or Carter, I believe, as you're about to say, a lot of great actors and Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon kills it in this movie.
Oh, I
She is
cannot stand Kate McKinnon.
hysterical. I'm not a Kate McKinnon fan at all. I think SNL is like one of the least funniest things in the zeitgeist at right now at this present time. But she is like just perfectly cast in this role, and she's so funny, and just like the line she's given and the way she delivers them, like just
That's
she's a
cellulite.
natural comedian for like Gerwig just brings it out of her, man.
But Carter,
It's
SNL is a
really
cultural
good.
phenomenon.
The dying cultural phenomenon, luckily.
And then I think one of the other things I really liked about this film is, this is going to sound dumb, I think, but I enjoyed the diversity of it a lot. None of it ever feels like tokenism. None of it ever feels like a character's just slapped here because they needed to check off a box. It was like, well, Barbie and Kens have come into the age through the evolution of the company where they do look like everyone. So you always believe that they have their own roles, their own lives, their own jobs, their own places. All the Kens look differently because they've incorporated just a wider range of everything as well. And then just to even show just the pregnant Barbies and stuff like that. What was her name?
Midge.
Midge. And just to make fun of it and everything. There's a Barbie in a wheelchair, I believe, right, as well.
Yeah,
During the dance
on the dance
sequence.
floor. Yep,
Yeah,
it's pretty
yep.
cool.
And it's just, it's like, wow. And it all feels as like, yeah, that's exactly where they'd be, because that's how a toy company makes toys, is to sell to everyone. And because the US has become such a melting pot of a country in of itself, depending upon which coast you're on, right? The middle bit's not too crazy. But it was really, really neat to see a cast of everyone having fun together while
Yeah.
taking everything really seriously in terms of the presentation of an art project almost. And it was by everybody who was, uh, tell me if this makes sense, but it seemed like it was by everyone who was in on the joke. Like they all knew the type of movie it was supposed to be. They all knew the type of movie they wanted to be in. And even though Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie are the I'd say that Ryan Gosling's a supporting actor, right, for this film. He's not a main. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Well, according to the Academy, he will be a supporting actor. But yeah, he's a main character.
Okay, okay.
He's like
Yeah, it's
somewhere between
more like
1B and
Academy.
2A.
Yeah, I was thinking more
Yeah.
along the Academy's lines, I guess.
I'd say he's for sure 1B because he goes into the real world with Barbie and experiences he's got a lot of screen time in this
He
movie.
does. Like the camera follows him by himself for
Because like
quite a while.
he is funny. He gave it his all and they knew that and they wanted him in the movie because they knew he would improve it.
Hmm.
Well, I think I know what you guys are going to say, but it sounds like two of the biggest frontrunners right now for Best Supporting Actor are Ryan Gosling for Barbie and Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that's just hysterical, honestly. And
Personally, I'd vote for RDJ.
as much as I loved Oppenheimer, I like
Give it to
Gosling
Ken.
gives a better performance, man. I think
Yep.
Gosling gives like I'd have to check again, but he might give my favorite performance of the year so far. I'm not gonna lie. He is just does not hold back in this movie at all. Like it is worth to watch this movie just to watch him perform. I
Dude, his
dead
sneer,
serious.
or his like frustration and jealousy
Uh-huh.
during the first dance sequence is a phenomenal
The first
face.
dance sequence is just phenomenal. It's so fun. Like Margot Robbie, like is it's done in just like such long takes with these like
Mhm.
kind of like it's camera rocking side to side in like classic old Hollywood style. And it's Margot Robbie is just like she's an incredible dancer. And then all the other Barbies are too. And the Kens get in there and they do their little thing, and then Simu does his backflip, and it's so funny. Great stuff. It should have there should have been 10 dance sequences in this movie. I agree with you,
Yeah.
Will.
And I think there's also just, I love that there's also the innocence of the characters as well, to have no idea
7-year-old
what's going on.
representation. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Of just like the whole, it's like, oh, uh, a construction site at noon. I can't think of a better place to find some helpful women. And it's like, no. It's like these people are looking at me, but in like a threatening way. And he's like, no, I'm not getting threatening at all. This is great. It's just funny.
And network sign.
Man on a horse.
And oh, what's the mom's name?
Gloria.
When I love Gloria's, I had a coworker who referred to it as like a spoken word kind of presentation where they're rallying the Barbies to not be brainwashed anymore. Do you know what I'm talking about? I love that piece too. I think it's just,
A spoken word. What do you mean by I know the scene you're talking about.
yeah. That was just the word she used. I've heard
It's
like
like
some
slam
spoken word kind of
poetry
like, yeah.
almost, except it's not
It's
poetry.
yeah. Warren, that's correct. It's meant to be poetic, but more freestyle in its presentation, and it's usually trying to get a point across, right? It's not for some type of just entertainment. It's usually got some type of underlying thing, which hers obviously does.
Yeah, slam poetry is a good way to describe it, honestly.
But I liked it. It was really well put together. It really draws you into the emotional state of the characters, and it's it really makes, in my opinion, a male viewer, think about an experience that I will never have, and just how to empathize with that experience, and what is my role, and they even go into that in the movie. Is my job isn't necessarily to fulfill something for a Barbie. It is to be myself, and to find the beauty of society in that. which I thought was a really, really cool way of melding all the characters together, was to make all of them independent while still enjoying each other's company. That only one character really breaks away from everybody in order to be completely herself, but she goes to a new family. She doesn't abandon everything or what she's learned to her friends. And they also show in the movie that you can go back to visit, which is fine as well. But it's that ability to embrace the world and to learn something new that the movie carries with you from scene one, where you're introduced to characters who are fun and inept into characters who are wiser and kinder as a result of going through a few short hours together in different people's shoes and from making mistakes. Like the movie makes it okay to make mistakes as well. I think there's just a lot of stuff that isn't even subtle, right? But not, it's neither subtle nor in your face. It's just presented well. Every single point the movie tries to bring across is presented well. It is well thought out. It is well shot. It is well acted, and it is well written.
It's well shot, it's well acted, it's well written. I think it's extremely unsubtle. I think there are some parts of this movie that are very, very in your face.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
intentionally, I don't think it's trying to hold back, but I think this is not really some sort of subversive feminist film. It's just, it's trying to be what the monologue that Gloria gives is. It's trying to kind of flip the switch in people and wake them up and make them, whatever she says, aware of the being made aware to the cognitive dissonance it is for a woman to live under patriarchy. I think that's what the movie's trying to do. But I think the first time I heard the monologue, first watch, I was like, "Ugh, I don't know. I, I I wasn't too sure of it. It was
Really?
just
Okay.
very, very on the nose. I've grown to like it. I didn't disagree with a single thing that was said, but
Mhm.
it did feel like an awkward stopping point where it kind of put the story on pause and was just Greta kind of saying things.
Yeah.
But people have reacted really positive to it, and it's really interesting to see. It's really interesting. It's really great that it has that effect on people, and I respect it for that. I think it's really cool.
Well, it
I
does
changed
a
my
really good
opinion on
job
it.
of showing how harmful society's expectations can be on anyone. And so I
Mhm.
think that's something that everyone can relate to and something that everyone has related to from watching it.
Yeah, I think the whole movie does that. I think the monologue specifically is what I was talking about. But yeah, I think the whole movie does like show all that really well, and I think the monologue is just telling it.
Yeah, and it's not in a way that really makes you go, "Oh, look at this, another multi-million dollar cinema production telling me how to act as a citizen." Because the movie takes its time to nurture your viewing experience into the point where you're ready to accept this slam poetry piece right in the middle, right?
Yeah. When has a multi-million-dollar project told you how to act as a citizen?
I think there's a let's see here. Uh I can't think of anything right now, man.
I think that's one thing I really like about it is that it is a blockbuster with heart and with a message. It's not just like white noise that's supposed to be forgotten on the way home. It's really trying to stick with you. It's really trying to say something and to leave an impact.
You're talking about White Noise the movie or White
I'm
Noise
not
the
talking about White Noise, the
phrase?
movie written by the co-writer of Barbie.
I'd say the most recent thing that I saw that was just like on it was a while ago. I can't remember when it came out, but Don't Look Up or Look Up. What's it
Yeah,
called?
Don't Look Up.
Don't look up.
Yeah, the one with the meteor in the sky. I was like, okay. And I thought that one had a message of global warming bad, doesn't it? Or did I miss something?
No,
Well,
yeah, Don't Look Up is I probably consider it one of the I don't have a list, an official list, but if I were to make a top 10 worst movies I've ever seen, Don't Look Up would be on it.
All right. Well,
well, Will, technically pretty much every movie you've ever seen fits the criteria for what you said. If a multi-million dollar project, what do you say, like giving you a message or telling you how to live or something? I understand what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Carter just disagreed with that point, though.
Well, Carter's wrong.
Well, in the realms of $100 million projects that are like specifically telling you how to live. I just
You mean like propaganda level? Is that what you're referring to?
Um,
yeah, I think Marvel
more
is
like harsh.
propaganda. I think Marvel is military propaganda.
I'd say more like harsh moral message that director A wants to get across because they think they're right type. Not necessarily. There's a message in here. I just think it was done poorly. Does that make sense?
Not really.
All right, that's fair. Anyway,
Anyways, back to Barbie.
I typically don't know what I'm talking about anyway. Oh, I got a question.
Go for it.
Did you guys cry at this movie at all?
No.
Really? I'm kind of surprised. I thought this at least this struck me twice. I think the first time is when she's sitting on the bench and she's just kind of taking in everything after she's been yelled at by the daughter, and she leaves school and she's just all flustered, and then she kind of just looks around and lives. It's just, and she looks over at the older lady and just says, you are really, you are so beautiful. And she goes, I know it. And that kind of reminded me of the spunk of my grandma. And it was so touching. Like it really was centered on those small moments where you take in so much because you're feeling so much. Like you remember where you are when a disaster strikes, or you remember where you are when you had like your first kiss or something like that. And it's like you can recall exact things, and her realizing that who she thought she was isn't real, and coming to grips with that, but learning that there's beauty to be had in the rest of in the midst of an imperfect world was really touching to me. And then I thought that the second time I teared up was when the old CEO, Miss Patel, what's her name?
Ruth.
Uh yeah, Ruth. When Ruth kind of takes her by the hands and just lets her, it's like just like live, can just breathe and stuff like that. And with the Billie Eilish song that I thought was so fitting for that scene as well. It got me, man. Like this movie got me really good. I think it's just so, it knows when to ramp up the comedic value, and then it can also take you by the hand and just say, hey, I want you to feel something with me. And it's almost as though you're just experiencing the same thing as the character, to really kind of be swept away into their emotions, into her life for just a second, was really just heartfelt. And it got my tear ducts going. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big crier at movies though, so I don't know how impressive it is that it made
Well,
me
I cry a
cry.
lot more during TV shows than movies because TV shows you have a lot more time to like build up a character and care about a character.
That's fair.
About 3 hours or so to care about her. Do you think there are meaningless 20-minute subplots where you care about characters in TV shows?
Well, it helps if they actually build the characters.
Very true.
Um,
Very true.
I think the old movie I've cried for this year was A Good Person. I'm guessing you guys probably haven't seen that one.
Yeah,
No.
that was Florence Pugh, right? Who,
Yeah, Morgan Freeman.
who directed that? I saw the director. I'm like, I do not care to see that.
Oh, Zach Braff. That's right.
Yeah, why would I want to see a movie directed by Zach Braff? Like,
Zach Braff's
all due
pretty.
respect.
I like Zach Braff.
There's no respect in that statement. You
Okay.
can't say all due respect and then go, that sucks.
No, I'm really glad it touched you, Will. I think that's awesome. I mean, I'm really glad it touched you to the point of crying. I didn't cry in Barbie. I thought the scene on the bench was really touching. I thought it was great. I think the scene where she first meets Ruth, when she's running through the Mattel warehouse, not the warehouse, the big disguise skipper, their high rise, their office, and she kind of escapes into this room for to hide and meets her, and they kind of just share this really sweet moment in the midst of a chase scene, and they just talk and they have tea for a little bit, and like she's very confused and out of breath, and she's kind of just getting a moment of peace, and that was really, really touching, I think. Um, the scene where she comes alive is good. The montage is good. I did really like that montage actually. Yeah. Thought the Billie Eilish song was good. It was very fitting. Very well done.
Yeah.
Um, just didn't quite move me to the point of tears. One thing I watched Little Women before I watched Barbie,
Okay.
rewatched Little Women, um, for third or fourth time.
The
Have
Greta
you watched
Gerwig version,
The Greta
right?
Gerwig
have
version
you
of Little
watched the
Women,
BBC Little
or
Women?
second version. No, I have not. I have
Missing
not
out.
seen the BBC Pride and Prejudice either. I have not seen it 12 times. And I cried during Little Women. That movie,
I need to
I
see
think
it.
that's her best movie. I highly recommend that movie. I think I mean, it's super popular. It's super highly rated and all. I'm not saying it's this underground, you know, underappreciated thing, but I think it's kind of been sandwiched between Lady Bird and now Barbie. And I really hope people don't skip over that because I think after rewatching it this time, I fully believe that that is the best project she has ever worked on. So yeah, so Little Women made me cry before Barbie, and Oppenheimer made me cry. I'm not gonna lie.
When?
Not nearly as much as something like Little Women,
Which
but
part?
I did tear up a little bit at the end. The second time I watched Oppenheimer, the second time
Really?
because I was
Okay.
able to fully absorb it. Yeah, and the very end at the when he's talking to Einstein by the pond and he says the great ending line of, talking about how they were worried that they'd destroy the world, literally. And then he says, I I believe we did. And then he kind of just stares at the pond and he's imagining the world's nuclear arsenal and everything that it's going to lead to in the future. And you see the Earth kind of igniting again, and the score swells really well. And
I'm not one to knock a movie that can make you cry. That I think it's
yeah,
always amazing when something that I've never impacted the creation of is able to relate to me. It is incredible when that personal touch comes through. Again, to just be a broken record one more time, I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once about a month and a half ago with a friend of mine, Jeremy, and it got me. It just got me again. And so it's just there's something about
Shout
those
out Jeremy.
films. And you know what? I think I'll go back and concede a little bit earlier of my expectations going into the film. And I think it's because I'd seen Barbie twice at this point, and I was really hungry for that next film to just impact me. I didn't know how with a biography. I didn't know why or what, but I really wanted to feel something, and I think that why I was so harsh with my current rating as well.
Have you guys seen the sequel to Oppenheimer
continue.
to 100?
I don't understand this joke, but I'm happy that you're laughing.
Uh, if somebody else gets the joke, make sure to email us at thepod.wwc@gmail.com. Got to get that shameless plug in there. Speaking of, do you want to go to the email, see what
Should we
we've
take a
got?
question break? All right, let's take a
Yeah,
question
sure.
break.
Why not?
Why not? Should we go with Ryan or Joseph first, or should we flip a coin?
Let's go in chronological order. And guys, if you want to be featured on the show, Carter, what's the address they can email to?
Our email address is thepod.wwc. Hold on, what's our email? It's thepod.wwc@gmail.com. Sorry if it's a confusing one, but again, that's the pod period wwc@gmail.com. Email us with anything, say anything to us, questions,
Within
recommendations,
reason.
anything you want to send to us, feel free to send to us. Zip bombs, anything at all. Ryan got his in 6 minutes before Joseph, so we'll go with Ryan's question first. Mr. Ryan says, "Hello, podcasters, loving the content. Keep it up. My question is, what does Ryan Gosling's song, I'm Just Ken, mean to you? Out of 10, what would you rate this song? And is it in the running for Best Original Song at the Academy Awards? Thanks, your target audience, Ryan."
Well, Ryan, I think Carter will answer that question in a second. But did you know that I'm Just Ken was originally just written as like a joke, but then Greta Gerwig and Ryan Gosling liked it so much that they decided to keep it.
Should
Anyways,
we wait
Carter,
for
what
him
did
to
you think of
answer
the
this?
song?
He was waiting for him to answer. I think it's so funny. It's honestly probably the hardest I've laughed in the theater this year, uh, especially my second watch where I was just could just take it in and just
I'm just Ken.
yeah, the the way it starts and he's in his house and he's, in the low light, super dehydrated, flexing and all. And then he walks down the street with his robe and then they have their fight and then they have their dance off. It's just so funny. It's so well choreographed and all that, and it just makes me laugh that he's just going for it this whole time. I would give it a 10 out of 10. Do you like it, Will?
I think it's like an 8. I think it's really
Cool. Yeah,
I
you
think
already
it's
said yeah.
funny.
Uh-huh.
Um I think it's definitely choreographed to the nine.
The song on its own, I don't know if it's super funny, but it's just it's the way that it's filmed. It's, you
Yeah.
know, it's elevated into the stratosphere.
Like I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I like the Ken cover of Push more than like the original
You
song.
said this about half an hour ago.
Did I No, I just said that I
No,
liked the song. I
you
didn't say I
said
liked it more than the
You
original.
said the Ken song is decent. I prefer the Push.
True. No, but I prefer Push over the Ken version of Push over the original version of the song as well.
My bad, my bad.
All good,
Okay.
all good. But yeah, no, I prefer it over the original. It is on my oldies playlist actually because I put it on for my parents one time and they're like, "This is really good." I was like, "Yeah, it is." But I'm not gonna, put on the Ken song unless it's just for comedic value. It's okay, but the overall
It's about the
presentation of the song
performance. It's about the
is the
performance,
best
yes.
part. Yeah.
Shout out to Joseph, who probably has about 2 billion listens on Spotify to that song.
And yeah, to answer your final question, Ryan, like regardless of what you think about this movie, like uh, regardless of your opinion at all, I think one of the greatest things is that yeah, come next February, like it's gonna be Christopher Nolan and Martin Scorsese and David Fincher and Francis Ford Coppola sitting in a room, and they're gonna have to listen to Ryan Gosling and company perform "I'm Just Ken" at the Oscars, and that is just peak comedy to me. It's just so funny that he's gonna get up there and do his little dance on stage. So yeah, it will get nominated. It will probably win if nothing else to challenge it comes along.
Yeah, I can't think of a single thing else that is against it right now.
I mean, there'll be stuff coming out, but I don't know if anything is good.
Is The Color Purple coming out this year?
December.
Then maybe.
I, I don't know if that's original. I don't know if the musicals qualify in the same way.
Okay.
I forget what the categories are for.
They will probably write a song with the intention of getting nominated for an Oscar for The Color
Mhm.
Purple, so it will probably. But
Well,
who knows?
speaking of the aforementioned Joseph, should we get to his question?
Warren, you didn't answer the question, bro.
It was good.
Next question. Good job.
Next question. Joseph has one for, well, he has, yeah, he has one for both movies. To continue on Barbie, Joseph says, when Gloria, America Ferrera's character, the mom, as we said, mentions that there was a man who taught her to drive like that, do you think she was referencing Ryan Gosling's character, the driver in the movie Drive, 2011? She says this when
Wait.
she's in the car
I've
chase.
I've never seen the movie Drive. Is she in it or something?
No.
Ryan
Oh, then
Gosling
no.
is right.
Yeah,
I think she's referring to John Cena, clearly. Boop, boop, boop.
I will let you believe whatever you want to believe, Joseph. I don't want to take the wind out of your sails, but it might be a coincidence. Um, Joseph also says, "Do you think Greta Gerwig has seen Drive?" I'd say
No. No, she is not.
Definitely.
I haven't even
They
seen
literally
Drive.
got together, the entire cast, and they watched movies like every what was it, like every one day every week or something.
Oh,
That's only like 50 movies. I don't think Drive was on the top of that list.
do I think she's ever seen Drive? I think it's a possibility. I don't think it's affected her whatsoever, though. So I hope that's a decent answer. And his other question is about Oppenheimer. Many people think that Jean Tatlock, who is Florence Pugh's character, many people think that Jean Tatlock was killed by the U.S. government after being such a security risk for Oppenheimer for her connection to the Communist Party, and that she did not kill herself. It's shown in the movie that she lowers herself into the bathtub, but it also shows a black glove holding her down as well. Do you think Nolan is hinting at the fact that she was murdered?
Yes.
Yes, I think it's, I don't want to say obvious, but I think it's very much implied that she was murdered. I read somewhere that in the book it's extremely explicit that she was murdered by the US government, that she did not commit suicide. I think the bigger question would be whether or not Oppenheimer knows this, because there are two times where they show her character dying, and the first time it's very, very quick. It's like 2, 3 seconds, and it's not like it's like 2, 3 shots. It's maybe like 7 or 6 seconds. It's very, very quick though. And it's just her, and she gets in the bathtub. You see like a razor, and then you see blood all over the water. And then it cuts back to him. It's because he was thinking about it. And the second time you see in quick cuts, you see a hand holding her down in the water and her struggling a little bit. So whether or not he knows that she was murdered is up for debate. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't looked into that enough, but yeah, I
I
think
think the
she was
better
murdered.
question is, does he know that the character exists?
Explain.
Huh?
Uh, well, more referring to the viewer there, because that's another pointless character who doesn't really do anything.
All right, that was
I
about a 4-layer joke there that I didn't understand. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
bud.
Call it the burrito dip joke.
What? So in defense of Gene, I think again, not going into the nudity stuff, although I have opinions on that, just to save time, I will not express them. Gene Hatlock, Florence Pugh's character, is the character that Oppenheimer comes across at the first Communist Party he attends. They meet, and they start a relationship, and that kind of lasts for maybe 2 more hours or so in the movie until she is killed. It lasts even through his marriage to his wife. And why do I personally think she is a necessary character? Well, because she was a very big part of his life. I think to cut her out of the movie, I don't even know if you're arguing for that, Warren Will, but I think getting rid of it would just be getting rid of something that's almost pivotal to him, to Oppenheimer as a character. Because so much of this movie is about guilt, about the decisions he's made, and the the tiny things he's doing, and then these particles bounce around and they ignite the atmosphere and they never stop. And Talok is one of those particles. And Florence Pugh is just a great actor. I I genuinely think Florence Pugh is one of the best younger actors working today, and she's going to be remembered as one of the greats.
I agree.
And it I I don't know how to defend her character and say she has to be in the movie, like, because I don't really understand the argument.
I think what me and Will are arguing is not whether or not she's in the movie. It's just either, well, maybe it is, but either take her out of the movie or make her a character who does something. Because
I
pretty much everything she says and does, it could be removed and the movie's exactly the same, in my opinion.
I Okay, I just disagree, because I think you can like jump around and apply that to like a bunch of different characters, and it's like I
Exactly. That's
I
the
and
problem.
I understand that's totally Will's point, but this is a procedural drama. It's about a man who spent most of his life post atrocity sitting in courtrooms or sitting down with friends trying to defend himself, trying to prove uh to futile ends that he wasn't associated with communists, and to um try to clear himself to futile ends of the shame he's carried throughout his entire life. And all of this is being thrown back in his face when it's brought up in all the records. And he's just being like, on all sides of him, things are collapsing and people are turning against him, and he has very few friends left. And it's because of the decisions that he's made. And you need a lot of these characters in order to enforce that, in my opinion.
So I think one of the reasons that the character falls flat is I neither feel sorry that she dies, nor angry at Oppenheimer for abusing her in such a way, for playing the part of a womanizer. I don't remember like any of her lines really that really stood out as a moment where she really influenced Oppenheimer's character besides, hey, read this book while things are happening. And what does this specific random line in this book say that'll be important to the movie? Or just, hey, here's this marriage that doesn't really go anywhere. And I know that it's based right on his life. So she is a real character that really happened and was really knocked off by the US. And that is awful. I just don't think that like the real life character had a terrible life as a result of Oppenheimer. That's awful. But none of that, in my opinion, is conveyed in any way, shape, or form in order for me to build sympathy for this character as X events unfold. And like I find one of the biggest problems of the movie is that sometimes you can have a plot where a character's actions result in X thing and it's really meaningful. And then sometimes to me, this felt like somebody or like Oppenheimer messed around too much and just, oh no, he found out what happened. And with Jean's character, she just feels she doesn't add anything besides a scene or two of adultery and betrayal, and some crying. And it's like I've kind of got the same problem with her as I do the one character whose entire job it is to say, I prefer the H-bomb, like 15 different times in the film.
Benny.
Yeah, him. Sure.
Mr. Benny Safdie, don't want to be Russian.
Couple quick things. First, I've been told by Trent to tell Carter that his argument is tort.
You've been told by Trent that what argument?
About Gene Tallock.
Has he seen Oppenheimer?
I'd seen Oppenheimer?
I don't think so. But second, does this movie fail the Bechdel test?
All Nolan's films fail the Bechdel test. If we're gonna get into that, let's get into all of his films because let's be real, guys. All right, you don't go into a Nolan movie. That's why I'm
Define what
like
the
not a fan
Bechdel
of the
test
Nolan movies
is.
because what
Define what the
basically-
Bechdel test
is when in any story, two characters that are not men, that are women, have to talk to each other, and they have to talk to each other about something that is not about a man or about anything related to a man. So they have to have a discussion.
And
that
what's
is
the
amongst
film that
themselves.
originated this idea?
The film that originated this
Yeah.
idea, I don't know that
I
it wasn't
believe
a
it is
film.
Alien. Alien is it because the Bechdel test is a comic strip actually, right? And so the
No, the
comic
Bechdel test is
strip,
not a comic strip. It
yeah,
was
it was.
I thought it was a
some
psychology thing.
yeah, it's some like it's not a really psychology thing, but it's some I don't know if they were a film critic, but they were some sort of scholar in maybe the 60s or the 70s that invented this thing. It was after the
So
Hays Code got demolished and like they could put women in movies that could actually talk about things that weren't
Oh,
like
so
it
it
is
was
a
popularized by
graphic
a
novelist, Alison
cartoonist,
Bechdel.
Alison Bechdel.
okay.
Sometimes I
we
know what I'm talking about. Not
okay,
often.
but the Bechdel test wasn't originated as a comic strip. It's as I described. It's a thing you can put
Yeah, but there's a
you can hold it up to any movie and say, is it pass fail, you know?
yeah, what Will's saying is it originated there's some comic strip where somebody asks someone if they'd seen a movie, and this was their criteria for whether or not they watched a movie or something. And so that's how it originated. But yes, you're both correct.
All right.
But I'm more correct.
No,
Barbie passes the Bechdel test.
it's
Yep.
the Bechdel test named after the cartoonist.
Let's
Anyway.
pause. I'm looking it up. Because I know
We
you're
both
wrong.
just looked it up.
The rules now known as the Bechdel test first appeared in 1985 in Alison Bechdel's comic strip.
All right, we should get a move on though because Will has to go to bed.
Yeah.
A few moments later.
The test was named after American cartoonist Alison Bechdel, whose 1985 comic strip, Dykes to Watch Out For, is when the test first appeared.
Therefore,
That's what we said, isn't it?
Bechdel
That's what I
credited
said.
the idea to her friend Liz Wallace and the writings of Virginia Woolf.
Oh, that's why it's called the Wallace-Bechdel test.
It's the Bechdel-Wallace test.
Bechdel-Wallace,
essentially.
okay.
all right, I'm sorry
The test became more
that
widely
I didn't
discussed in the
mention her
2000s.
best friend.
No, I'm saying the comic strip isn't called the Bechdel test. The comic strip is called Dykes to Watch Out For. This is where the test first.
So is this a red herring or a rabbit trail?
A bit of both. I don't know. I still don't know.
I'm pretty sure I'm
I
right.
still haven't drawn a
I think
conclusion on
that's what's
this.
happened, but
Okay.
it is okay.
What do I have to say? I don't know. Um, Going back all the way to Warren's very first question as to why is this such a cultural phenomenon? One thing that excites people about Barbie, I think, is that someone like Greta Gerwig is becoming a major blockbuster director. It's cool to see people rise above, indie status and kind of get larger budgets like this, and not only get larger budgets like this, but also be able to do what they want with them. It's just very cool to see. I think it's sorely missing in our modern world, and there are very few people that are able to do it. And there might not be any women that are able to do it. Um, this movie grossed $1 billion. It's the first movie ever directed by a woman to gross $1 billion, I think. It's either the first movie ever to gross $1 billion directed by a woman that's not a superhero property.
It might be
That's what it
solo.
is, yes.
Is
Because
it solo director?
Captain Marvel made $1 billion,
Okay.
but that was co-directed by a woman.
Yeah.
This is the first solo directed movie by a woman to make $1 billion. I think that's pretty sweet. Big fan of Gerwig, if you couldn't tell.
Well, if we want to move towards the close on a more interesting note here. Well, I mean, not more interesting. Don't want to throw you under the bus like that. On an interesting note.
No, fair enough, fair enough. On an interesting note, right.
Yes. Are you guys aware? Not that this criteria matters that much, but did get me thinking. So apparently, the IMDb top 250 movies, it's now Nolan with 8, and then Kubrick and Scorsese with 7. So I was thinking about this some. What do you guys think Nolan would have to do to be considered the greatest ever?
I don't think there's anything he could do to be considered the greatest
There's
director
no
of all
way
time.
Nolan will ever be called the greatest of
Yeah,
all time.
I think if you take the
What?
with all due respect, if you take the IMDb top 250 seriously, with total lack of respect, if you take the IMDb top 250 seriously, you're a moron through and through. Like it,
I think the IMDb
because a
website
while,
takes it
like, okay,
seriously.
look. Here's why Nolan has 8 films on the list. Like 4 years ago or so,
People love
they
his
review
movies.
bombed. They review bombed The Godfather because they wanted The Dark Knight to be the highest ranked movie on that movie list. So thousands of Nolan
Well, that's
fans
why I said I didn't take it
gave
super seriously.
one
It just got
star.
me thinking.
And as a result, The Godfather drops to number 2 on the list, and Shawshank Redemption is now number 1. And like it's like first and foremost, you can never like objectively rank movies as to what is the best movie of all time. There will never be an answer to that question.
Yes, there
Period.
is.
Period. 2,
Spy Kids 3D.
fair. That probably 2. An internet like website like that,
I'm not talking about the IMDb
where
top
people
250 at all. I'm asking
okay.
you, who is
Yeah.
the greatest and what does it take?
Don't worry, Warren. I'm tracking with you.
I'll get to that for
That
sure.
was
I
just an
understand the
intro
question.
into
I'm just
the
trying to
topic.
ensure that our listeners don't say, I should check out the IMDb and see what movies
Well,
they
you
think
should
is
check it
very
out
good
because it's a good
I
indication of
think
what
you
movies
should check
people
it
like.
out.
I don't think you should.
Yeah.
I think
Why not? Why not start with movies that a lot of people like?
I care more about the
What a
IMDb top
great
50
way to
than
enter into cinema with
who wins the
big
Oscars a lot
hits.
of years. So
well, I think the Oscars are pointless and stupid, and we'll get to that, but I think IMDb top 250 is pointlesser and stupider.
what do you consider valuable in terms of some of the greats of all time then? Since you don't care about the Oscars, you don't care about fan ratings, what do you care about?
First and foremost, quality, although that's very hard to quantify and to to define.
Obviously, it's always
I
going to be subjective to each person, but in terms
Yes,
of like
absolutely. But I think if we're
general
trying to
cultural significance,
do cultural significance is important. Influence on culture and influence on the filmmaking world, I think, is very
you have to be a
important.
cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, I think whether or not you're an auteur is kind of necessary. is like, do you are you a director who is in control of a movie? Not from a, like a dictatorial standpoint, but are you telling your story or are you telling the story of the people who funded you? The the story that they wanted you to tell? But yeah, I think influence is one of the most important things. And I think how well you draw from your influences and how well people draw from how well you influence people is probably gonna be up there for me.
So who do you guys throw up there at the top for your lists?
Coen Brothers, probably my
The Coen
personal
brothers
favorite.
are my favorite directors of all time. I don't think they're top 10 in terms of best.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's a good differentiation.
yeah.
I think they're. I was watching No Country for Old Men
Yep.
like 2 days ago. Amazing film. Um, maybe Martin Scorsese, perhaps.
He's definitely up there, at least in terms of cultural
Well,
significance.
so the thing is if you look at the IMDb top 50, you can't watch Goodfellas apparently. Um, don't watch anything else that's on here, guys. All bad films.
Well,
No Departed.
I, the Coen brothers just don't have the reach that others do. I think they're honestly kind of, I don't want to say niche because they're not, but they they hit a very specific,
They're not really
um
I wouldn't say they're household names.
yeah, not at all.
I hadn't heard of them till I met you guys.
Do you think
Yeah.
you have to be a household name to be one of the best directors of all time? Like,
Well,
I
to
haven't
have
seen every
cultural
movie that's ever made.
significance, which is what we were talking about.
Do you think that you have to have cultural significance to be the best, or can you just make something that is not applicable? Like,
I
I
think
don't
you
Well,
know.
have to
it
have
really depends
cultural
on your
significance
definition
because
of best.
I think movies are culture. Movies equal culture. I think like
Mm,
our American culture is consumerism, fast food, and film, I
Pulp
think.
Fiction.
There you go. But then there's like, Tarantino. I think Tarantino is one of the most popular directors of all time. I absolutely wouldn't consider him the best.
Nope.
mhm.
Kind of on the, well, um, to give you my answers, I think uh John Ford, Alfred Hitchcock, Akira Kurosawa, and Stanley Kubrick are probably the most influential directors of all time.
Not Steven Spielberg.
Spielberg would probably be fifth, yes, but he's very, very modern. And
Okay.
I mean he's still got a career going. He's still influencing people to this day. So I mean, yeah, Spielberg is up there.
Like, I'd say Spielberg. Oh, dude, if it weren't for 2001: A Space Odyssey, or was Clockwork Orange big too? Because I'm super sorry, but
Really,
those are the only two
one of
films
the
I
thing
know.
it's okay. Are you talking about like terms of like at the moment they came out, like box office and all that?
I
Because
guess of just like
Kubrick
the
has
lasting
never,
impact. Because why would Kubrick be at the top then if he doesn't have the same cultural impact as Steven Spielberg?
yeah,
Right? The man's just
and
been dropping bombs ever since he started, really. Or, well, I don't know. Maybe E.T. would be the
oh,
start of it. Or like maybe was E.T. the start of Spielberg,
You know
or was
who's
it
really
before that?
dropping bombs? Christopher Nolan.
I mean the movie that made Spielberg explode was Jaws.
Oh shoot, I'm such an idiot. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But
Apparently that theme exists because the shark kept breaking in water, and they had to figure out a way to tell you that the shark was there because it wasn't always working. So they made a song. Genius.
Yep.
Warren, who would you put as the top director of all
Yeah.
time? And why isn't it Greta Gerwig?
well, I mean, I can only go since I was born, so I've got to say Nolan.
It's okay. It's okay, Warren. We'll do planes, trains, and automobiles some year.
You want to talk about Alfred Hitchcock? You've got to ask somebody older than me.
I've never seen an
Joseph.
Alfred Hitchcock film.
Yes, Joseph's an old soul. Actually, there is an Alfred Hitchcock film on my watch list, so I'll keep you updated when I
Is
see
it
that.
The Birds?
No,
Okay. All right. Is it
Which
Hotel
one is it?
Transylvania?
no,
Oh, darn.
Is it Rope?
no,
Is it Rear Window?
Nope.
Really? Okay. Wait, is Psycho?
Psycho's Hitchcock, yes.
Is it Psycho?
Nope.
How,
It's not gonna be Psycho. Is it Vertigo? I'd be amazed if it was
Nope.
Vertigo. Really? Okay. I didn't think so.
Man, I watched Vertigo when I was like a kid, dude.
Is it North by Northwest? It's North by Northwest, isn't it? No,
Nope.
43? What year?
Nope.
Tell me what year.
This is turning into
Tell me.
it's turning to Bilbo Baggins. What's in its pockets?
Is it Spellbound?
Neither
No
confirm nor
chance.
deny.
That's Spellbound.
Is it Shadow
Nice.
of a Doubt? Is it Spellbound for real?
You guys still have not gotten it.
It's not Shadow of a Doubt.
Nope.
Carter, hack his
Is that the wrong
computer.
man? What?
All right. Well, on that note,
No, Warren.
anything
Is it
else you guys want
Rebecca?
to say before we
Is it
head out here?
Marnie? It could be. Nah, Warren wouldn't like Rebecca.
Jamaica Inn. Warren's an island guy.
Warren, are you an island
Great
guy?
movie with Sean Bean.
Is it murder exclamation point?
Was it Dial M for Murder?
Maybe.
It's Dial M for Murder.
Was it the 1922?
He wants the single location films. That's why I thought it was
You know
Rover
it.
Window, but it's Dial M for Murder.
Dude, watch Hateful Eight, man.
Is that the one with Morgan Freeman?
Yeah. Dude, have you seen that clip where Samuel L. Jackson gets called Morgan Freeman and he goes off on the reporter? It's amazing. You know what? Warren's probably going to see The Creator and cry like 14 times.
Oh, I am really
I
excited
want to
for
see
the
the creator. I'm excited for the creator. You don't want to see the creator?
I could care less about it, honestly.
Really?
Actually, no. That's a total lie. I think it looks awesome.
It kind of looks interesting. I know. Thank you. Shut
You
up.
saw Rogue One, right?
Yeah, best Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Best modern Star Wars movie besides the original three.
Best one, period.
No.
Benign opinion. Unbelievable. But I'm
It's-
excited for the creator.
Isn't that Denzel Washington's son though in it or something? Isn't it that guy? Or no?
John David Washington? No, that's
Yeah.
Tenet. You talking about
For the creator, the main character. Isn't that
I don't think it's John David. Is it Morgan Freeman? Is that Morgan Freeman in it?
let me see here. Yeah, it's John
It
David
is
Washington.
John David Washington. No.
Get out of here, Carter.
God.
Making fun of me twice in a row. Getting proved wrong twice in a row.
Wait,
I'm on a roll,
he
baby.
played in the NFL? What?
He did?
He played for the Rams. Undrafted free agent in 2006.
No, he didn't.
Actually?
What?
That's something else.
Wow. That's
Wow,
impressive.
indeed.
You know, I was at the movies the other day with David, and we saw the what was that? The Equalizer. It wasn't bad. It was kind of fun. Yeah. Wow.
He won a Golden Globe for Best Actor? What was that for?
John David did?
Yeah. Well, that's just nominations. Never mind.
Okay.
That's rough.
Doesn't say what he was nominated for, but maybe Tenet? I don't know.
No
Why?
chance.
What was 2019?
2019 wasn't Tenet. Tenet was 2020 because it was going to save movies.
Dude, the fact that you can pull out years for movies amazes me.
Black Klansman.
Okay.
Black Klansman.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It does make a lot of sense because he was very good in that.
Did he not get nodded
Maybe
at
not.
all?
He was nominated for Tenet for a Critics' Choice Super Award and the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films.
Wow, dude, that's
USA.
crazy. Oh, Carter, is there any updates on the strikes that are happening or no?
They're happening.
So are movies, are things just
Going
not getting
strong.
made and written right now, or what's up?
Well, I
Nothing
mean,
from
the
like the major
statement,
production
are
companies.
movies getting made is going to be a no if you only watch, 3 or 4 movies a year from the big companies. But I mean, I've riffed on A24 a lot, but man, my opinion's turned around on them because they agreed to everything and they fire back up and they're producing again.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
So
They're
it's
like, yeah, done. Let's
kind of
let's
awesome,
get back
yeah.
in there.
And it just shows that companies like Warner Brothers and Disney and what's the other one? I don't know, but they don't
Netflix
care
and
at all about
yeah.
movies. They're just trying to
Well, I think the
squeeze.
problem is they care about movies, but they don't care about the people working on them.
I
That's caring
don't
about
think they
money.
care about movies at all. I
They
think
care about
they
the
see.
profit from
I
movies.
don't think they care about movies at
Yeah,
all.
they care
Movies are
about
just a
money.
product to them.
Yeah.
Movies are just something that they make like a factory would make cars, and they see it as a product.
Which it
They
is.
just want to assemble it, market it, get it out there, and reap the profits. And yeah, they don't want to. The big reason, and this is why they don't care about movies, in my opinion, because the big reason they're holding out that they're not agreeing to anything is because they want to move farther and farther into AI. And one of the big things that actors and writers are pushing against is to reduce and eliminate, if possible, the use of AI because it's not humans making art. It's
If
an
you haven't
AI
watched
making a
Black
product
Mirror,
that you can buy
Black
and
Mirror's
sell.
never been more poignant.
Yeah, I haven't watched Black Mirror, but I don't doubt that in the least. You can look at all the numbers and that like it takes about like 5 or 6 days for a studio to lose the amount of money that that the entire actors are asking for in raises. So like of the thousands of people that are striking right now, they're saying we want, you know, this much money to be upped in our collective contracts.
Well, the main thing is
And they lose
like,
the studios are losing billions and they're losing that much
yeah,
money in about 5 days. And this has been going on for months and months now.
isn't the main sticking point healthcare?
I don't know if it's the main sticking point, but yeah, they're fighting against hours because that's like it's just pure it's exploitation in its purest form because they're just studios will work an actor so many hours and then they'll stop them right as they're eligible for benefits. So they can't
And how do you work them so
get paid.
much? Because I thought
Like
Because
the
in their
like as soon
contract
as
is you
you're
have to work this many hours to be eligible
yeah,
for benefits. And they will never ever work them that much. They will just send them home.
but isn't that like 39?
well,
Probably.
whatever
Yeah.
it is, something like
So
yeah.
then that's just a
It's yeah.
40. I mean, it still sucks, don't get me wrong. And
Yeah.
unless you're a big name person, you're not really raking in the millions of dollars.
I mean, honestly, it's like that's like a government standard thing for
Yeah.
government jobs. I have no doubt that a corporation can loophole around the 39
Well,
Okay,
speaking
okay.
of loopholes, if you've ever
because
wondered
they're working like 80-hour weeks, I think. Like
what Disney would do is for a bunch of their shows, there was something in the contracts where like if a show made it to a certain number of seasons,
I saw
then the
that.
cast, like everyone would have to get paid like X amount more. And so a bunch of these shows, they like reboot them, even though it's like the same show with a different name. So like whatever Disney show, colon, revamped or whatever title they're going to use. So it's technically a different show, so they don't have to pay everyone more,
Yeah.
even though
I
it
didn't
should have
watch
been
any
like a third season or fourth season.
I don't watch any Disney shows, but I mean, yeah, because so this has been going on for a long, long time. Because in the
Yep.
contracts, it doesn't say if we use your character or any likeness of your character in a future show. It says as long as you were on this show, if you're used in this show for this amount of time, then you will get these benefits and this pension and whatever. But if they just reboot the show, so if they just make the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, then they can just file all the actors into the next show that they're doing, which is pretty much the same exact thing, marketing it and being like, "Oh, look at this new great thing that we're doing. It's we're, a new innovative, a new season." But it's just simply the fact that they don't want to pay people.
Well, it's like, yeah, my dad, one of the things is if you look at one of the corporations are out for money, it's the look how often a remake comes out for it or a redo comes out for a Disney film. Oh, is it every 50 years? Or it's like every 20 to 50 years or something like that. I forget what it is, but it's like, oh, look at that. They're just making sure their copyright doesn't run out so that it can't
Yep, so
become
they
any
can
type of
hold on to the
domain.
rights.
Woo. So fun. That's why we should stop seeing movies, you know?
Been saying it.
I
Got to
will
get away from the exclusive theater distribution model.
and TV shows.
No, I think theater distribution is much more democratic and much more beneficial to everyone working on it than streaming services are. Streaming services, I'm no expert at all, but I've, been listening to a lot of stuff and reading a lot of stuff about this, and streaming services are, I don't want to say on their way out, but they have hit the iceberg and they are going down.
AMC to the moon?
Well, you know, whether or not this is like very bad for movies in general because theaters aren't doing too well either is up in the air right now. But
Got to shift towards TikTok movies.
Dude, do you remember that one time where the entire Lego movie was a YouTube ad? Do you guys remember that?
no.
Nope.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but it was like some Thanksgiving because me and my family were in Deep Creek. And that's when we go to Deep Creek is for Thanksgiving. And I was just later on watching YouTube, and then all of a sudden an ad pops up and it's an hour and a half long. It's the stinking Lego movie. It was amazing. Watched the whole thing. And everything was awesome. Why don't we just make a movie? TikTok style.
TikTok style.
What do you say, Warren?
Willie is the lead star.
Is that me or his
Willie?
brother? Well,
Either one.
Craig,
Willie's gonna be a 1B. He's gonna be a Ken character.
I think
I don't
think
know that he
any
could
Willie
lead.
would be fine with that. I
Yep.
think
That's
I
enough
think
for him.
every Willie is the
For sure.
first follower, not the leader. You can have someone aggressive as the lead, like a Tess.
Tess is too aggressive to be the lead. She definitely needs a lot of screen time, but she's gonna be yelling and angry a lot, and that's I don't know. I mean, there's a way to do that, but it's I don't know that we're that talented.
I think she'd only agree to the terms if it were like a Halloween type movie.
Yeah.
And Carter, you could play the love interest as well,
Of course, of course.
as it should be.
All right, I'm going on strike.
Too bad you're not getting paid anyway. Warren, if you want to be the lead male, I'll give you McDonald's.
I'm in.
Let's put a nugget on a fishing string. If you want to see him sprint like a champ, that's all you got to do. Put some chicken nuggets in front of him.
You want to see my 9.6 second 100-meter dash?
Is 9.6 seconds fast? I have no idea.
Well, the world record's 9.58.
Oh, so yes.
Usain Bolt 2009.
Man, that's close to you not being able to rewatch it, huh?
Barbie is amazing. Oppenheimer is amazing, in my opinion, at least. I think that it's absolutely so radical that these two movies that could not be more different came out on the same day, due to two studios feuding, but the audiences came together and united instead over their love of movies. And I think it's even more amazing that both of them, after a year of build-up, are incredible. I think that's awesome. A very, very dour movie and a very, 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 very joyful movie. Neither are perfect, but I think both are absolutely worth your time. I think you should check them out.
Yep. You know who you are, Michael. Go see them.
He hasn't seen either yet.
Not that I know of.
Unfortunate. Anything else to
Barbie
say,
is
Will?
perfect. Yeah, Barbie's perfect. Don't see Oppenheimer. Have a blast.
How can you have a blast if you don't see Oppenheimer?
Until next time, guys, and there will be a next time, hopefully quickly. We are the Monkeys, and we're here to see our gynecologist.